now rocking with TDF everything. Spoiled rotten.
Spoiler alert.
Welcome and welcome back, everybody.
Hey.
It's me, Daniel,
And this is Ben.
on Spoiled Rotten. And we are back with our good friend Andrew Young. Thank you very much for coming back.
Hey, I always love being here, especially I do love the fact that you guys have, and don't mean this in the sweetest of ways, the cutest little intro, the way you guys do that.
You would think that we write it out, but I feel like it just started happening organically and then we never stopped.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great. If I tried that with green, would not work. It would be like, what? It's Andrew. And
Come on.
Want me to talk now? That's basically
Work with me here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, you're back because we are doing episodes 4 through 6 of Daredevil Born Again. Obviously, we know you've seen all 9 episodes, but we're gonna do a nice little check-in here and see how are you feeling about 4, 6. I'm pretty sure you said off mic 5 was your least favorite, but like
yeah, but it was my least favorite. But it's sort of like when we get into that, there's qualifying reasons. It's not like when I say least favorite doesn't mean that's not a bad thing.
You didn't say you hate it. It's just the
exactly.
ones you like. This is
exactly.
Not
but I understand why some people it's their favorite. I've talked to a number of people recently who that's their favorite one. I get it, but to me, it's like as a longtime Daredevil fan, I feel like it's all right. But overall, I feel like the show continues to build on what it had previously done.
Ben, what about you? How'd you feel about 4 through 6?
I really enjoyed 5. I really did. I can understand where you're coming from a little bit, why you would not like it in the grand overall scheme. But overall, I'm enjoying my time with this content right now. It's getting better and better.
Nice.
Yeah.
I have feelings. I don't know.
And now we get to the part where Daniel talks about how much he doesn't like Daredevil.
Cut him up.
So here's what this is my qualifying statement. I've been listening to Blank Check podcast again, and they did their episode on Temple of Doom. I promise this is going somewhere.
Okay.
And I think it helped me crystallize what I'm having an issue with, while also reminding people I'm not saying that's what's wrong with the show. It's just what's holding me back, which is they were talking about having his love interest in Temple of Doom be a character who doesn't want the Indiana Jones movie to happen is very trying, because she's constantly like, hey, stop it, what are we doing here, stop it. Especially after you've seen what happens when you've got Marion, who definitely is in on the fun and pushing the fun forward. It's kind of hard, and I think I saw Foggy like that, but I think this season, for obvious reasons, the main character is the one who doesn't want the Daredevil show to happen. Matt Murdock doesn't want the Daredevil show to happen. So it's hard for me, and so in that light, I liked 5 only because it put him in a position where he couldn't stop the Daredevil show from happening. It was He was forced to live out the Daredevil episode, and I was like, yeah, man, like that was good for that reason. And we will get into the episodes in more depth later.
Alrighty.
But yeah, otherwise I am happy with what they're doing with the show. I wish I liked it as much as you guys. So, well, as I said, I have some notes here. We can just go through the episodes somewhat beat by beat. Episode 4 is I guess this is the one where Matt is dealing with, why did I forget his name already? He's dealing with the guy in jail who needs to...
The White Tiger, Hector Ayala.
No, this is
the one with
Fiddle-Faddle.
Right, Leroy Bradford. Yeah.
There we go, Leroy. Also, IMDb has his name as something different, and I don't get that. Like, I
Yeah,
was like,
that's
did I miss
weird.
something? Like,
He's
got like
clearly
Leroy, but then
called Leroy in
they
the
say
thing.
his name in the show, which is what I wrote down. But also, I'm like on IMDb, it says Leroy something French, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't know about that. Um, so yeah, this is the guy stole Fiddle Faddle. We get they touch on, you know, the prison system and what's wrong there. And Fisk has a slip up in his group. Daniel fucks with his little plan there with the sanitation department or the garbage people, and yeah, like let's get into it.
Isn't it funny though that it's James Gandolfini's son
Yes.
that's bringing up garbage, and of course James Gandolfini known for The Sopranos, where
Right.
they always said they were in sanitation. So
I like the meta-ness of it for sure. I did see some people not understand what happened there. Like they were like mad at BB for keeping him out drinking, and I'm like, that was the point.
yeah, the whole point is she was waiting to
getting
get
drunk
him to slip up.
But they were like, how dare she not understand? He needed to get to where. I'm like, what? Did I miss something?
Yeah, her whole
clear.
friendship in
Yeah.
quotations is to get information about the mayor's office.
Mhm.
Why else would she hang out with this obvious like
And
fanboy
she told him
doofus?
that.
Yeah.
We're friends with benefits, but the benefits is like my political, like my
Yeah.
professional thing.
Yeah.
Before that though, we get to a character who I think it's Angela, who is the White Tiger's niece.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen people say she's really good, and I agree she's talented. I think the directors are not doing her any favors. I feel like I get huge whiplash when she's in a scene because I believe what she's doing, but she goes too much from like, hey, I'm digging talking to Matt to like, no, I'm angry about something. And it doesn't feel like I'm watching her switch. It just feels like I'm watching different takes mashed together. So it takes me out of it sometimes because
just gotta ask you, have you talked to a teenage girl recently?
Yes.
One that's really passionate about something.
So what I would say
because it happened. I've had several conversations in my life with
it's
girls
not that
exactly
she's
like
vacillating.
that.
It's not that she's vacillating. It's that they're cutting out her build up to it.
Okay.
Because what's happening is in that first, maybe it's in the second scene she has with him, but like she kind of comes in. She's like guns a blaring, like, oh, you put him in jail, a lot of good that did, or you got him out of jail, a lot of good that. I get it. Like she kind of needed to get that off her chest, and then she eases into what she needs to say. But they are showing her like. I wouldn't be surprised if they are just separate takes that they're using to piece this together because she's not in the pocket of someone who has built an arc and is achieving that arc. It is just choppy, which I would say takes me out specifically in the one where she's trying to get him to do something. She's having, I agree with you. They can go back and forth and like, but you kind of get that point, like if someone like you've upset someone, like, okay, yeah, you think that, and then they kind of ramp back up into being happy, or they're cutting that out for her. And so I think it's like the director or the editor is not doing her any favors for me.
Okay.
But yeah, I like that this is the first thing of her kind of needling him and trying to get him to understand the impact his actions had. I like that part of it.
Right. No, I got it. For me, episode 4, with the story of Leroy Bradford, what really sticks out for me for that is we see a lot of Matt doing lawyer stuff that isn't the courtroom, that is the other stuff, plea bargaining, things like that. And this is where you see the talents of fuckboy Matt come out. Like he's automatically like he goes over to Sophia, the DA. It's like, I'm sure you look lovely today. Like he starts flirting with her, and you could tell she's automatically into it. He knows the right buttons to push. He impresses her, of course, with his senses, realizing
you got the Latvian honey cake, was it?
Yeah, it was a piece of honey cake that she had for breakfast, and yeah, so it's like all those moments, and basically how he uses those talents as a lawyer to plea bargain for his clients. Of course, in this situation with Leroy, he's treating Leroy as a case instead of a person,
Mhm.
which is something that when Matt Murdock was on the streets as Daredevil, he would have never done as a lawyer.
Yeah.
Every case matters, right? But now this is to show that he's kind of separated himself from the people. In his, like, of course, later on we have Angela call him out on that, saying, you know, big fancy office and everything like
You're here
that.
for the little guy until the little guy actually has something for you.
Exactly. And so I thought that the scenes with Leroy, not only talking about the criminal justice system, how it's handled, how the negative effects, how they're not, like, even the conversation he has with Sophia about how this whole idea that
it's not working. You think
not
you're
working,
deterring him, like you keep going up, he's still offending, and also I've talked to him, he doesn't think about it like that. So this isn't gonna work.
And so it covers all of that, but it also gives the human element, because Leroy is somebody he's fed up, he knows how the system works, wants it to work for him, and it doesn't, and he's like, why am I going to pat you on the back for giving me something that I didn't ask for? And Matt, the old Matt, would have totally understood that, but this Matt has to relearn that. This Matt is sort of like, I just did the lawyer thing.
Yeah,
the lawyer thing. I got you a deal. Yeah,
we're gonna have 35 days. I got you 10. I know this is on purpose, but it's like I do not like Leroy. Like, he's so annoying.
Here's the thing, though. He has to be annoying, though.
Yeah, no,
it has to. Yeah, it has to be an overly obnoxious look at that, because Matt needs it banged over his head. He needs someone like a Leroy to paint the picture for him.
Yeah, I was just like, I do not like this guy. I was like, surely he didn't do all the things they said, and it's like, no, he did all that shit. I'm like, I am not for, like, the prison system as it exists, so I wasn't like, so put him in there, but I was just like, we all know what world we live in. I don't know what he thinks is happening.
Yeah, I do love the fact that he suggested a Skrull.
I love
that. That's become probably now every petty offender's first attempt to try to get off. Like, well, it was a Skrull. It wasn't me. I love that.
Yeah, and because I feel like they dealt with that, not Skrulls by name, but they dealt with shapeshifters in She-Hulk as well.
Yes, yeah, that one shapeshifter that was pretending to be Megan Thee Stallion. Yeah.
But for whatever reason, him saying Skrull, I'm like, now we're talking. Yeah.
Of course. Well, that's the thing. Yeah,
you can't rule it out. He's like, no, we can.
Yeah, but it's very much like when when the Skrull line pops up, I think, there you go. That's for Daniel. He likes it when it brings in more of the Marvel universe type.
I like that he tried it.
Yeah.
I think because we know that it's kind of like they're not going to just let you walk free if they're impersonating you, that we know, like, well, that's not going to work. But I like that he tried it.
No, totally.
Yeah, so I feel like we went through all the Leroy stuff, this was a reminder to Matt, as you said, that before he took this break from his faith and from being a vigilante, he would have knew this going in right away, and we're showing his departure. And so, yeah, I just like that he said it out loud. They're willing to pay 5 times more to keep me locked up than defeat me. And that shuts him up. I guess my gripe was like, I don't know, like, I know that we're working towards him becoming Daredevil again, but that's not going to help this guy. Like, him being Daredevil is not going to help.
But again, that's path. Like life, though. That's
I
situation that, like, it wouldn't help that guy in real life either. It would be his situation would still be shitty.
But it was nice that they talked about it. But it's just like, it's not like I don't think we're going anywhere with this outside of.
You're missing next week the announcement. Feige's going to announce the Leroy Bradford TV special. It's going to be amazing.
You're right.
He's going to become the next White Tiger. It's going to be fantastic.
More trailers coming out, and we'll see that. We'll see that actor's name, and I'll have to look it up. Yeah, I liked the interaction in the moment. I think the other thing that happens in this episode for Wilson Fisk and Vanessa is we see that it is Heather, right? Heather is pushing them to talk about Adam And I was like, now we're getting
Oh,
somewhere too.
yeah, exactly. Heather is the psychiatrist. Totally. Yeah, she
Yes.
is pushing them to talk about Adam. Also, if you might have noticed in this episode, they are both somewhat open because they're sitting closer on the couch.
Mhm.
Actually,
Much
Vanessa
closer.
is sitting closer to him. That's what I've noticed. It's not like they went to the
And she kinda
center.
turned into him, isn't she?
She turned into him, and she's more over on his side of the guy. He
Mhm.
remains
Yeah.
in the same spot he was before, but she's closer. So it's showing that she's trying to do the work
Mhm.
to bring
Yeah,
them together.
he is not, because he's constantly like, let's not talk about it.
Yeah.
You called
Yeah.
it an affair. It's not like a dinner party. You betrayed me. And she's like, actually, you betrayed me. You're the one that left. And he's obviously throughout the whole thing just, well, you know me. And it's like, I mean, that, like, I don't think that excuses it. And the show's is not asking me to excuse him, but I am just
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
does he not have anything to say other than you knew I would come back?
He's like, "Hey, baby, sometimes I leave. That's
Yeah.
the way it is."
Yeah.
I'm like, well,
Yeah.
she's not going to put up for that forever.
No, totally. Like that's the thing. This episode also really shows Fisk's fragility in the not being able to handle his own like place as the mayor. Like we see, of course, the whole thing with Daniel, giving
Blowing
out,
up his spot.
blowing up his spot, and then him kind of like losing it over that. And then, of
Mhm.
course, Daniel comes forth and admits to it. And that shows in Fisk that really impresses him. So, of course,
Do
he
you
absolves
think he was
him.
going to beat him up or kill him?
I don't think he was going to beat him up or kill him. I think he was just going to let him go. And
Yeah.
then maybe somebody else might kill him, but probably not. I think this one would have just been a fireable offense.
Because I
Mhm.
think it's very clear he likes Daniel. And obviously Daniel saves himself by just falling on his sword and being
Mhm.
like, even if you fire me, I'm still voting for you. You have my support.
Yeah. It's like much like a Trump voter, but anyway.
Yeah, and obviously that's what he needs after being like, well, my wife cheated on me, and everyone seems to be doing whatever they want, and no one's
Yeah.
respecting me. But I was like, am I supposed to be like, oh, Daniel saved his own life, not just professionally, or is it just, I guess,
I don't know. I think you can take it as you want. Like
Mhm.
I think there's room for both. I
okay.
think there's definitely room for no. He was just going to fire him, but he might have killed him. You never know.
I guess I don't mean in that room either. Like,
No,
I don't
no,
think
of
he would've
course
been like,
not,
everybody
no.
get out, and then he beats him up. But like, as you said,
Mhm.
maybe have somebody follow Daniel home and an accident happens.
But at the same time, I wouldn't put it past. Fisk is such a fragile being.
to
Mhm.
bash his head in the office.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
totally. And then you have the moments of the children's choir and the Latvian Heritage Day choir. I don't know why the fuck anybody would sing "We built this city on rock and roll" to Fisk.
Yeah,
Like, I
but
get
they
it, the whole,
did.
it was
and it was
funny,
great.
but I was just like, I don't feel like that's tied to him in
Like
any
there's
way.
perhaps there's a loose connection because he believes that he's building up the city, and
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's that. I think there's
but it's
loosely
like we
like
built
that.
the city, and he's
I
always
wish-
like, I'm building this city.
Yeah.
I wish there was like a reference to, oh, I use this as a campaign song or something like that. But no, it's just weird. and
Yeah.
Yeah,
awkward.
like if before that we knew that was like how he campaigned, and
Yeah.
maybe because of the way the show is edited, we don't know that isn't how that played out. Maybe they all knew that because that's how he campaigned.
Right. He seems very unimpressed by the song every time he hears it.
That is
Though.
some good acting by him.
It was great.
I love.
No.
him, like,
That's-
the no, but also just the build up in his head, like no, like like I said, like he's so used to just doing whatever he wants,
Mhm.
and he just can't. And he's got Sheila telling him like, no, like you have to do this. This is
the
your
job.
voter
Yeah.
base. This is your constituency. You won by 16 points, so we're definitely going to the Latvian thing because they really helped you here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's just he doesn't have any control the way he used to. Obviously, we see later in the episode where he still has control, but like for this point, you're just like, yeah, I can see how someone just being a sycophant would make him be like, great, keep this guy around, please. I
Yeah.
need this for my mental health.
pretty much. Somebody out there loves me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I need this.
Yeah, no,
the Daniel thing is definitely going to some weird places. I'm just like, what is this all about? I don't.
Yeah,
I think it's very well written.
obviously, Andrew, you've seen it, but I'm just
Mhm.
like, he has to have something up his sleeve. Like, he's acting
Right?
so, he's too bought in for this to be just, oh, he
Mhm.
just really likes this guy. And I know he's like a Trump voter that way,
Yeah,
but I'm
because
like,
I'm about to say, do you guys remember 2016? All those dudes wearing blue blazers? They were all like Daniel. Yeah.
Yeah.
but like, those people who will still vote for Trump, they're, I can't say that all of them. I would say that the vocal group of them are doing it because they get certain power out of the power taken away from the other people. That's what they're voting for. Whereas I don't know what he thinks he's getting out of this.
It's cool, man.
I
That's
guess
what he
just
thinks.
next to the guy.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
just hero
But,
worship
but as I
next
said,
to him.
there doesn't seem to be any type of removal of like, he's just a guy. Like, it seems like he's too far in for him to not be like, I'm doing this because it's specifically Wilson Fisk.
Hmm. Well, I guess we'll just have to see.
We'll see.
We'll have
We'll
to
see
see.
what
We
happens.
will, because right now I'm not convinced he has the capacity to amount to anything bigger either. I'm just like, oh, you're just gonna be another leak for BB.
Mm-hmm.
There
Like,
you
he
go.
should have
Well, he's
fired
certainly
you.
getting played by BB.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely. I'm like Fisk. I'm like, this is the thing. I'm like, I like what you're saying about him getting weaker in the office, because I'm like, yeah, this is something that you should have fired him for.
Oh yeah,
This is-
totally.
Like, I don't get how
that's
you.
a big deal. I mean,
Yeah.
other people have pointed out it is stuff he was readily saying out loud himself, but
Yeah.
obviously the show made it clear, like, well, but this still got leaked to the press, which is
Yeah.
different than him just saying it out and about in public.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, totally. Now, of course, the other big thing in this episode is because of the egging on of Angela Ayala, the further investigation of what happened with
Mhm.
Hector, the death of Hector. You see Matt going to the scene of the crime and checking out the area, finding that dip on the bridge and all that sort of stuff to see where it goes down. And it does, once again, I love when he's using his powers, how they do
Mhm.
the dollying backwards while zooming forward shot. So it looks like you're really like, you're almost getting in the mind of Matt and the world is disappearing behind him. It is a great way of showing him using his abilities.
Mhm.
Before he does that, because I do, obviously that leads to something amazing. When is it after he talks to Sophia or on his way to Sophia, he talks to the crooked cop he beat up again?
Yeah, it's
And
in the
he's tr-
hallways. Yeah, he
Yeah, it's
talks
in the
to you.
hallways, and he's. I guess the way I read that was he gave him his like polygraph test by listening to the heartbeat, and
Yeah.
he's like, "Oh, he's telling the truth. He doesn't
Mhm.
know what
Mhm.
happened."
Yeah, well,
So
he's
that-
saying his words were, "I didn't kill that guy."
Yeah.
So
But
what
he
that
also says, "And I don't know what happened." Like
Right.
he does add that part, which I feel like they would have to put in there if
Yeah.
they're trying to say this guy is a dead end.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that, of course, then he goes to lead the investigation. He wants to find the missing bullet jacket.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And he figures out, he sees the dip in the bridge and then figures out exactly where it goes by knocking over that liquor bottle that someone
Mhm.
left there. It rolls down,
That's good stuff.
rolls into the sewer grate. The best part of it is when he gets down to the sewer grate, he isn't fumbling past the bottle. He can
Right
he's-
away.
Yeah.
right away. Okay, there's the bullet. Like
Yeah.
he's radared in on where the bullet is, and pulls out the bullet casing, and of course, it's got a Punisher logo on it.
Mhm.
And he can feel that.
Yeah,
The
and
part, the part I like, no gloves, nothing. Just like,
Yeah.
here's my fingerprints. I'm just gonna right away. No forensics knowledge. She's pure lawyer.
Well, I mean, I guess in this case, if the suspicion is the cops did it, he's not turning this in for anything. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't
Yeah.
matter whose prints are on it.
He's committed to being like, I'm gonna mess someone up over some information connected to this at
Well, I
some
guess
point.
it's just like I got the shell now, I can do my thing. But if he
Yeah.
feels the Punisher, okay, I'm going to Frank.
Mhm.
Yeah,
not
and-
because he thinks he did it. I don't think.
No,
that's-
it's
he's more like, hey, you know what they're doing with your shit.
yeah, and of course they meet. He tracks down Frank, and Frank is like much like in the Punisher series, holed up in like a little room
Mhm.
in an abandoned building that he's got set up with kind of like basically his war room. He's got his guns up, he's got monitors, you can tell he's got cameras in certain places.
Mhm.
He's got the freaking, because the Punisher especially, but every guy that's planning a case has got to have his wall with all the strings and the
Yeah.
pins and that's all in the background, perfectly set up.
Vibe.
And it's the perfect place to have and this is again, like I've talked about before, Daredevil, my favorite character. I don't know if I've told you guys before. I may have mentioned it before. Punisher, my second favorite character.
Oh, I did not know that.
And
Did
it's
not
not because like there's fanboys out there who don't get the Punisher, like, and they're like, oh, yeah, Punisher.
Yeah.
It's more of the fact that the Punisher is a force of nature
Right.
that is created by a lack of justice, and so it's anger and revenge and human emotion filling that void, which is just as unjust as the justice it's trying to get. And so it's like it's a great contradiction of character. Now him with Daredevil, it's even better because he has a problem with Daredevil because he always sees Daredevil as a half measure. Daredevil sees him as the problem because he's going out there and killing people and not bringing them justice. But they're both a contradiction in terms.
Yes.
Like,
oh, I sorry to cut you off, but just
Yeah.
saying, I love anytime these two have to talk to each other.
yeah,
And I loved second season because it was these outside forces forcing Matt Murdock, and only because he's the lead of the Daredevil show, to
yeah,
think about his actions in that show. I'm not saying that's
Yeah.
never happened. And obviously, reading the Kevin Smith run, which is the longest I've read Daredevil in comics, I know he's constantly questioning himself and everything,
Yeah.
which they've taken out definitely in this season. But like, I like that, and so while I just don't even really think about the Punisher seasons, I like the Punisher needling Matt, and it was amazing in this.
Yeah,
episode as well.
because that's the thing. It's like they're both coming at each other because they both they don't like each other, and it's
Mhm.
because they look at the other one going, if you did this,
Mhm.
I'd be okay.
You're
with
doing it wrong. Yeah.
You're doing it wrong. That's not how you should do it. And what is the best about it is that out of all the people, so not Matt's friends, not his girlfriend, not his colleagues, not people he respects, the one guy that he can't stand because he doesn't like the way he do things, that's the guy that finally gets Matt Murdock to
Mhm.
grieve his friend.
Mhm.
And like that is a beautiful scene because it's like
Amazing
he's needling him. He's like, what about Foggy and everything? You can't even say his name and everything. And when Matt breaks and it's like Foggy was a better man than either of us will ever be, sort of thing, it's like fucking right. Yes, this is like
Oh,
this is
wanted
what
to
I
talk about
love.
that.
Just like
I wanna talk about
it's
that.
like a punch to the gut. It's both these characters bring out the worst and best in each other.
Mhm.
Yeah, I really appreciated, especially when he was.
Oh
like,
yeah, the line was Foggy. He was the kindest, purest soul I ever met. Yeah.
and it's something about like we can have all this life and we'll never amount to what he
Yeah.
was, cut down short. So I really liked Punisher being like, I've never used the word victim. Don't fucking put that in my mouth. I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
Mhm.
that is some good characterization for
Yeah.
people who maybe haven't seen him, and it's what I like about like, no. It's what you said. I'm not a victim. I chose to do something about the grief I felt. Like, I didn't just sit on it. I'm like, no, I act when I need to, which obviously is the setup for. But you're not acting. Like
Mhm.
Yeah.
you feel a way about Foggy, and you must feel a way that the guy who killed him still gets to live and do whatever.
Oh
Like,
yeah, yeah.
I'm
He's
doing it.
needling
Yeah.
him. He's pushing him, and then Matt finally just yells about Bullseye. He got life.
Yeah.
He's like, "What about Foggy?
Yeah.
Does he get life?" And it's like, oh, both these is like, this is like, if it was a rap battle, the crowd would be going, "Oh my god!" right there,
Does feel like a Drake versus Kendrick situation.
Mm.
I don't know about that.
Nope.
I don't know about
Not
that.
really.
No, I'm joking. Very, very loosely. But I like what you're saying about how visceral the hatred is towards each other and how they can actually get them to see that light for that one thing.
And also, the thing is, these two characters together remind you about the absurdity of justice. That basically we have a system set up that's supposed to dole out justice, but in reality, how often does it get that justice correctly?
Very
Right.
rarely.
And because of that, it's what forged Frank Castle is forged because of this, and Matt Murdock is forged because of this. Because even a man who believes in the justice system knows it's flawed
like,
and
"But I
has to
also
go
have to do
out
this other
and
thing
be
at night."
Daredevil. Yeah, so it's great.
So, you know what? I'll just leave it. I think the Foggy is a great person. Just works because people are on board with Foggy. as
Yeah.
someone who's not. I'm
like,
like,
cuts
how
to
is
you
that
going,
the
I
end
don't
of
think he's a
this?
great person.
No, I don't. I don't feel that. I think it's, to me, it didn't address what Frank was actually getting at. Because okay, great, he's a great person, but he died, and you're sitting on your hands. So like, what? How is that? Where? How is that the end of the conversation? Like you still need to address that part. And
Well, he
again,
wouldn't address
I
that
work-
with Frank. He'd address that on his own. That's like Frank kind of basically saying, "You're still not addressing this."
No, I know, but what I'm saying is the way it felt like it was written was like, and now Matt has won this, and he can walk off with his head held high. I guess I see it that way only because I see him as someone who doesn't really want the show to go on.
True.
Like,
I see it as two guys.
I'll accept that that's
Yeah.
my fault for having that prism.
Yeah, when it comes to these two guys, their conversations, their fights are never won. They're always going to end with the "we both disagree with each other." Somebody walks away, and that's what this situation was. He said his piece. He walked away. That hasn't changed. Frank is still right.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, that's what it is with the two characters. And then when it cuts to him finally going home to see Heather, he compares himself to Sisyphus, which I never understand when heroic characters compare themselves to Sisyphus. Because, of course, Sisyphus, the Greek story, it was Greek, right? It was a Greek myth.
Yeah, that's Greek. Yeah.
Yeah, that he's pushing his punishment is pushing the boulder up the hill. Every day it rolls back. He has to do it again. But it was a punishment. He actually did something wrong. That was his kind of like his penance. I always hated like heroes all the time were comparing themselves to Sisyphus, and I'm like, Sisyphus wasn't a good guy, right?
But I mean, Matt doesn't think he's a good guy at this point in the
True, but I don't think that's why he compared to Sisyphus. I think he was just like everybody loves the boulder analogy, but people don't know why they're pushing the boulder.
I don't think he should have applied it to her because I feel like he was trying to be like, hey, this is some common ground we can fit because she hasn't done anything wrong that we know of.
No.
Whereas we know he thinks he did something wrong. He thinks he crossed the line and this is his penance. But I do agree with you that in general that doesn't apply to every hero, and I don't think it should apply to Daredevil. Again, with all this new like reading the comics and listening to you talk about the comics, on Back Issue Bloodbath, I see how with that knowledge base that would feel weird, but for me that's not that into Daredevil. I understood where he was coming from, while now after seeing that episode, reading a bunch and being like, oh, he shouldn't feel that way, obviously. Like, that doesn't apply to him. But I do feel like it applies to this version of Daredevil.
Okay, all right.
What else do we have in here? Oh, right. We did not mention, I think it's just important to, like, touch on the fact that during the whole therapy session, we see that they're constantly trying to cover for each other, or for Wilson, not for each other. Just like, oh no, he's in business. It's don't worry about it, don't worry. But then obviously that makes Heather raise some eyebrows, and so she calls Vanessa back after, and she's like, "Are you safe?" I just like Vanessa's response, like, I mean, that's cute that you're worried for me. My husband could do a lot of things. He's never capable of hurting me.
Yeah.
I only bring it up because then kind of at the end of the episode, it's her bringing it up to him, being like, oh, she was afraid that you would hurt me, but should I be afraid of that? Like, what's your deal, man?
Yeah. And then of course that leads into, because he doesn't in any way really answer her, but it's something that they kind of both know. No, he wouldn't hurt her. But then, of course, it cuts to the end of the episode where we see him going into the depths, into his, I like to consider it his lair.
Yeah.
Where
I loved his meal. I was just like, yeah.
So he goes down and he eats this amazing meal.
Yeah.
He eats this amazing meal in front of his captive, which is Adam.
Yeah.
Now, he's going down to the depths. At the same time, Matt, who's just, after such a crazy day, has probably had some amazing lovemaking with Heather, because she seems sleepy and satisfied.
Yes,
He gets up and he goes up to the roof, which is where he keeps the old Daredevil costumes. And it's a juxtaposition from episode 1 where Matt is on the street looking up
Mm-hmm.
and he's down in the depths, and Kingpin is on the top of his big building looking down on the people like
He's
I've
like,
risen.
I can do this legally now. And
Yes.
then,
That's right.
but now
And
they've
now
yeah.
she's showing him, he goes into the basement of where he keeps his dirty secrets,
Mhm.
and Matt finally is no longer fighting who he's supposed to be, and he rises up. It's a great juxtaposition. It's a great showing of what the characters are like, basically the sliding of the scales.
Yes, I appreciated that element. I think this season has done a really good job of being like, these are our two leads. We're tracking like their ascent and descent as they apply to each one.
And the whole idea of man can't deny who his true nature.
Yes. Should we move on to episode 5?
Yeah.
The bank episode?
Yeah, the bank episode. Before we get into the bank episode, the one thing I do want to say about the whole man not being, you brought up the fact that the two main characters. This is something I've been seeing from a lot of other people. How do you guys feel about the fact that the other characters don't necessarily have major arcs? I feel like Daniel has an arc. It's an odd, weird arc, but it's an arc.
I don't think anyone has like, obviously there's arcs, but I don't think enough attention is paid to, especially because they did the whole, we got rid of Foggy and Karen. Not enough attention is being paid.
Okay, but so how do you
characters.
feel about, do you feel like these supporting characters should have their own storylines, or do you feel like this is the right way to go for this series? Focus on your two main characters.
No, I don't. I think if you wanted to switch it up and give new characters, you should be investing in them. Otherwise, you should have kept Foggy and Karen, and then they can play a back burner role because everyone already knows them, and they don't have to feel like, hey, but what's going on with those new people?
Okay. How about you, Ben?
I would say it doesn't feel good right now. I like the idea of these characters having a little bit more focus. We can see what they're about and how they're actually influencing Matt and Wilson. But right now, it's just like, it feels like it's 1 or 2 episodes and then the spotlight's off them. You know, it's like, hey, we're very much involved for this episode's. We need you for this episode, basically. And then the other episodes, which I feel like it. Keep in mind, we're talking about the heist episode, which in itself feels like a bottle episode. So it's just
it totally is a bottle episode.
Yeah, the connectivity to the rest of the overall story arc or plot is very, very lacking. So I feel like it's a good point to ask this question, because this episode very much did feel like a bottle episode, which is fun. I liked it.
It's not, but like, technically speaking, a bottle episode they would never leave the room.
Correct.
Yeah, but they never leave the vicinity of that bank area, so you can make it a bottle episode.
That, like, production-wise, that's still not a bottle episode because you need different sets.
Okay, fair enough.
I think we are already touching on like what people might not like about this, but as I said, I appreciated that it was structured in a way that forced him to do Daredevil stuff. And again, that doesn't mean putting on the suit, but he needed to engage with the problem in front of him. He didn't have an opportunity to try and avoid it or
totally
sulk or whatever. I appreciated that it pushed him forward. I've also seen people posit that this was probably one of the original, not supposed to be first, but like part of the original version they had.
Oh, it definitely was. This was the last episode shot before the strike.
The rewrites and the strike.
That made sense to me, and because I was like, oh yeah, because it's like he's not in the suit, but he's still like is forced to do stuff. I'm like, this must be from like when they were thinking we're not even gonna put him in the suit, and we'll just have fun like issues of the episode, like. I mean, more episodic, I guess.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, the big thing for me that there always has to be something that kind of pulls me out is the jump scare of the guy who plays Yusuf Khan being back, and I'm like,
the jump scare. I like how you call it a jump scare.
I mean, the guy was accused of what was the accusation? Grooming and sexual.
Really?
assault.
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
Dick pics and stuff. Yeah,
I did not know that.
So, like, to have that opening back and forth of, do you need a lawyer? And I'm like, me? No. I'm like, I think you need a lawyer.
That is weird.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know, man. Like, we should have. if we were doing reshoots, maybe like I don't know. Like I get it. Like they wanted to include the new characters without paying Iman Vellani, but like I was just like this guy. I just wish he ran into her mom or something. I love the mom.
There you
This
go.
guy,
Fair enough.
That guy is deep in Marvel. I know he voices Doctor Strange in his native language as well. Whenever we do that in the
okay.
MCU, so like he's in the bag for MCU, and they're in the bag for him. But I was just like, not the best guy to like hang your "Hey, we did a cameo" hat on.
Well, again, like right now, I feel like a lot of the general public probably doesn't know that because I had no idea.
I had no idea either.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Ben, you and I talked about it on an episode, but it
Oh,
obviously didn't stick.
It didn't stick. It was not one of those things that stuck. It's not like the Jonathan Majors thing where I'm like, oh no, that stuck for sure.
Well,
This-
they got rid of him. But
Yeah,
they didn't get
exactly.
rid of Tenoch Huerta, and they didn't get rid of this guy.
Yeah.
Man.
But yeah, I so that was kind of like a whoa. I mean, I'd seen people talk about him being in the trailers, and I was like, okay, I didn't see it, but sure. But then I was like, oh man, like, and we're talking about needing lawyers. I don't know about this. This feels bad. But anyway, he's there.
Yeah.
He's a good actor, so he's got that going for him.
Yeah.
The unfortunate thing is they really wanted to remind you that it was Yusuf Khan,
Mhm.
and so I think they went a little too far with
He
that.
kept saying, my daughter, come on.
Yeah,
And I
there was that.
understand that it's
Mhm.
like
But then
a
also
proud dad, but I'm like,
the Funko Pop of Miss Marvel, that should have just been sitting on the desk. He should have
Mhm.
never referenced it. It should have just been there.
because I liked that touch because it was like, oh right, people did say her dad was going to be in it, so like when I saw it, I was like, okay, but I was just he really leaned into it.
Yeah.
And then like having it that Matt Murdock hasn't heard about the Miss Marvel from Jersey
Mhm.
City, so he has to ask all these questions so
Yeah.
that can be like, hey, just
It's like,
remember.
are you going to show her? Or
Yeah,
we just,
exactly.
like, what is happening?
It's
'Cause
like,
you don't
hey,
really
love
use her.
Iman Vellani. It would be great if it's like
She could get a paycheck out of this.
exactly.
Yeah.
New York isn't that far from Toronto. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly.
So
But yeah, he's here to get a loan,
Mhm.
and
Which she is denied very, very quickly.
yeah, they shouldn't
So-
have spent all that money on the big fancy office.
No, they
like
really shouldn't have.
that's $1 million office in New
Yeah.
York. You know?
And then we see the robberies. I mean, he leaves, and then the people come, so that I guess they can pay off their $1.8 million debt.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's their work because they're working for.
Is it now? It's now 2.8, right? Because he does the Wilson Fist thing in
that's in
the
episode
beginning.
6, though.
That
no,
okay.
So it's
No.
1.8. These are
So it's
that's the
1.8
thing.
still.
These
Okay.
guys are working for Luca. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
Luca's not in the episode, but that's who they're picking up the 1.8 for.
Right.
Now, of course, the episode you kind of can't it's probably intentional, but you kind of can't help for it to be so. Automatically, the episode gives off feelings of two films: Dog Day Afternoon and
Mhm.
Inside Man.
Mhm.
Especially with the ending of this episode, it's very Inside Man with
Mhm.
with them holding up the jewel. So there's that stuff. But here's a fun little thing that nobody's talked about, from what I could see. That probably wasn't intentional, but it does. It's a thing that's referencing a comic book that's not Daredevil that can be tied back to Daredevil. So all of the robbers, when they go in, they're all wearing different colored masks.
Mhm.
One of the robbers is wearing a red mask,
Mhm.
which Matt eventually gets his hands on. And that robber's wearing a red mask is holding a big shotgun.
Mhm.
Now, in the comics, there is in Image Comics, there's a creator-owned series by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips that is about a young vigilante who wears a red mask and he has a shotgun. It's called Kill or Be Killed.
Okay.
And the part where he holds the shotgun right up to Matt Murdock's head, that looks like it could be a panel, one of the covers of Kill or Be Killed.
Mhm.
Now, Ed Brubaker had a lengthy run on Daredevil. And so I'm wondering, it's like, was that intentional or was that just some happy accident?
Super deep Easter
I'm
egg.
sure they're going with happy accident when he goes, can you pay me for this, please? They're like, what? It's just a happy accident that
Yeah.
we love your stuff. We put you in our movies, and we still will not pay you for actually using your character in storylines.
Yeah. So now they're going even with the creator-owned character.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh.
I would be pissed if I were him. I mean, I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but it's just like you saying that makes me like, they really make it hard to root for them.
Mhm.
Because it's not like they don't own it, like it's Image, so it's like, well, like they can be like, what? We were just that's your stuff. We like it. Um, yeah. So the heist begins, and uh, Matt is out, but he hears it. I get pulled out. He's on the phone, and he goes, "Just call the cops." And I'm like, "To where?" Like
Yeah.
you gotta give more information than that.
Yeah.
But it's fine. We move on. He comes back, and we get him in a mode where I'm like, "Good. He's in. He's got to do his stuff." Um, I like anytime he can be like, "Oh, I'm blind. I don't know. Are you talking to me?"
Yeah.
Like, good. This is good stuff. Um, but yeah, he does. I feel like Andrew, Ben, you guys might have more insight into this. He kind of makes sure that they focus on him. Do you feel like he's just like, keep the attention on me and everyone will be safe, when he's kind of like, they're talking through their plan. He's like, don't forget, if you kill somebody, it's gonna change from armed robbery to whatever. And I'm like, leave them alone.
Yeah.
Figure something out. But
No,
the more I think of it, the more I'm like, is he like,
Yeah.
oh, like this is
The,
how
the more is
protect.
yeah. Get the focus on him. Get the
Mhm.
focus on him, because again, it comes down to it. Yes, there's 6 guys with shotguns.
Mhm.
Matt Murdock isn't afraid of that.
No.
Matt Murdock isn't afraid of 6 guys with shotguns. The only thing he's concerned about is the other people in this room.
Mhm.
So by agitating these guys, he's doing twofold. One, he's putting the focus on him, but 2, he's also kind of setting these guys off their game.
Yeah.
Because they're not used to somebody standing up, talking, making noise, agitating, all that sort of stuff. And so he's putting them at a disadvantage. So each moment when he does that, it is to take the position of power away from them.
Mhm. Mhm.
I like that. That's good.
Yeah, it very much felt like he was doing the negotiations from the inside, and like was ready to throw down if it ever went the wrong way. But like it definitely felt like he was like, no, I got this.
I'm
I
in charge
want
here.
I want everyone to just look at me, because he says the same thing that the other guy says, where it's like, no, I want him to think that he's in control.
Yeah,
I'm like, it's so good that they both say it, like, no, I want him to think he's in control. I'm like, yes, this is good fuckboy energy. It's great stuff.
And they figure out Yusuf is the assistant bank manager,
Mm-hmm.
and
I don't know
guess-
why
I
he
guess-
lies about
because I
being
guess
like,
he figures then they'll get upset and kill people. Like maybe he feels like he can buy some time.
Yeah, I
yeah,
think it is. It's a
guess.
reaction of like, he's like, oh, they're looking for the bank manager. They can't find. Oh, they're looking at me now.
Mhm.
I'm afraid they might. Like, it's a reaction that one might have where they are thinking this will be the right move to help
Mhm.
people, and then only realizing afterwards it's like, oh, wait a second, when I can't open the vault,
They're gonna be really angry.
they're going to be really
They're
angry.
gonna
Yeah,
be-
exactly.
not happy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I was like, oh, you lied, but I think for both him and Matt, I was like, well, if they just kill you right away, I'm not afraid that's going to happen. But I was just like, if they just kill you right away, then you're still leaving these people in danger, and there's less time for you to sort things out. So I guess he's buying himself time there by being like, yeah, I'll open it for you, don't worry. And the police are there. Angie Kim.
So Angie Kim, I checked. She's not from the comics.
I
Not a
kid,
felt
yeah.
so bad because I was constantly, until they kept saying her name, I
Mhm.
thought she was Yuri from the Spider-Man game.
Oh,
I was
yeah?
just like,
Mhm.
yeah, obviously it's her. And then they kept saying Angie Kim, and she's obviously been in episodes before this.
Yeah,
but I'm
she
just
was
like,
in. She was in the first
yeah, she's
episode.
the
She's
first-
friends with Cherry.
Yeah, and I'm just
Um,
like, they never said that was her name, and I'm just an idiot being like, listen, I think we all know who this is.
I really enjoyed her Irish joke.
Yeah, that was
Mainly-
that
Irish
was
joke was
stuff.
good.
Because also that's the other thing, and I don't know if we touched on it the last time. I do like the fact that people just casually say "fuck" in this show,
Yeah,
Yes.
no, I like that.
and they don't oversell it. It's like just
That's
like,
exactly what I was
yeah.
going to say. I like, because I remember the first time I think Daniel says it the first time that I noticed
Yeah.
in the first episode, and I was like, I had to rewind. I'm like, they didn't say fuck, did they? They would, and it is as casual as fuck can be.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
in Guardians of the Galaxy 3 when he's like, just open the fucking door. Like, it's not
Yeah.
like I'm gonna fucking kill you, which
Yeah,
they
yeah.
get to later, but I think they do a good job of making it feel natural and not like the fuck I hate when they had the Titans trailer, and Dick Grayson said, "Fuck Batman." I was like,
Oh yeah, no,
brother,
totally.
here we go.
We're like, hey, I want to see them eventually, like in the second season. I want to see them get so casual that they do a scene like Dominic West and the other guy in The Wire, where they're just saying "fuck" over and over again. Fuck. Yeah.
I'm with you. I think they've integrated that word well without me feeling like, oh, they're really trying to convince us this is
It's a
Disney
big deal.
not fucking shit up.
Yeah. They're like,
yeah.
oh, it's a big deal that we're saying this. Are you guys paying attention? No, none of that.
But yeah, I'm a fan of Angie Kim, even though I was wrongfully assuming she was someone else.
Yeah. Rubo Kwan, I believe, is the name of the actress.
The first time I saw that actress was on Broad City, so I love her every time as she.
Yeah, no, she's good in this. She is enjoyable. She feels like a real character. Yeah.
She's also in Our Flag Means Death, which I love that show, even though it's made by problematic people. But yeah, it was a good time when I didn't know more about Taika Waititi and the people that make that show. So I guess the main guy calls himself, for obvious reasons, Mr. James, and he has his back and forth, as you said, the whole, oh, you think you're in charge, with Angie Kim. She's pretty confident at first, and she does get an early win by when he says, look, I'm gonna kill people in 30 minutes if you don't get me my 3 APVs. And she's like, well, give me 2 hostages. That's a nice moment for her, because I was like, oh, this is looking bad for you, buddy. But she got them, and that was nice. And once again, this I obviously understood way more of Matt being like, no, sent it. And I like his whole words, because I'm blind. That I saw the subterfuge in that of like, oh, why? Because I'm blind. Even though he doesn't deliver it that way, I was like, good.
Yeah, and then the whole just basically adding to it that also that he was an orphan and everything. The fact that he has an Irish background.
I love when he was like, "Where are you from?" He's like, "Hell's Kitchen." He's like, "Obviously that." You smart. But then obviously that's when he has to be like, I don't know. My dad died early. I didn't really know my mom till later, and he's just like, wow, you are right out of Charles Dickens.
Yeah, the orphan lawyer. Yeah. Oh my God.
He did another good move with I need to go to the bathroom. I liked that.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Those are good moves. Like, I don't know. Did you guys ever see the 1990 Captain America film?
Nope. Is that with J.D. Salinger's son?
Yes. So every time he needed to sneak away to do Captain America things and he was stuck in a car, he'd tell people, I think I'm going to throw up. And then they pull over. It happened like 2 or 3 times in the movie. They pull over, they get him out. He fakes like he's going to throw up, and then he pimps away. And I was like, watching this Daredevil thing made me go, you know what? Daredevil knows how to slyly get out of a situation, unlike Captain America from the 1990
film.
So
I did see that movie, but my mom rented it for me, so I probably would have been like 5 or 6. I do not have any memory of like other than, oh, it's Catcher in the Rye's son. Like that's my
at
memory.
age 5 or 6, you knew that?
No, I think my mom did tell me, like, that was my mom's thing, is like, you can watch whatever, but I'm going to like give you the cultural significance of this stuff.
Okay.
So while I hadn't read Catcher in the Rye, I knew that was the content. Even though she did like Marvel stuff, she was also like, this is the son of the guy who wrote Catcher in the Rye.
Okay.
Obviously that wouldn't mean anything to me until high school when I read Catcher in the Rye, but like I was like, okay, let's just I want to see some Red Skull. Shut up now. Yeah, I like the fight because it's, again, he has to be smart about it. He can't make too much noise,
and he has to catch the gun, all that sort of stuff.
It's got a lot of good tension.
But you know what? One thing I felt that was even more Daredevil than the fight was that when he takes out the other guy that's with Yusuf by the thing, and then he picks up the walkie and he starts doing the Irish accent. It's like, of course that's done because, you know, he can do an Irish accent. He did an Irish accent in, what was that, Boardwalk Empire and all that sort of stuff. So it's like, of course you can do that, and it's like a fun little moment. But as Daredevil, because of his hearing, he probably would be able to do different accents quite easily because he'd be able to pick up on the yeah.
I didn't even think about that. I like that. I was just like, well, obviously you get Charlie Cox to do an Irish accent.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I did like the exchange with Mr. James and Angie Kim about him being like, so you know enough that I'm Irish, but you don't get that this would not be a significant holiday for me.
Robinson, yeah,
Like, yeah, Christmas. I'm going to paraphrase. Christmas for a Jewish person. I don't think I have the right to say it the way he said it.
Sure.
But yeah, I liked that added element of like what he said. Like, you think you're in charge here, but like you're playing this wrong. If that's your appeal, that's not. This means nothing to me.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. One thing I thought was weird, we can kind of just skip to the end unless you have stuff in between. There's that element, there's the moment where he's like, they've got the diamond, he's ready to do it. I'm assuming, timing it with what he's hearing outside about them moving in. But him saying, have you heard from the cops lately? I'm like, yeah, like within the last 10 minutes he has. Well, like, how often do you think he's gonna
I think that's supposed to be like a longer passage of time.
Yeah, it just felt like they know what they're editing. Like, they would know how that would land.
Yeah, no, I feel like they wanted to keep it a tight up because this episode is only 35 minutes comparison to like
it's
episode.
the shortest one so far.
Exactly. Episode 4 is like 40 minutes, 50 minutes, somewhere around there. And the episode that comes after is also about 50 minutes. This one is about 35.
Yeah, if you take out like credits and previously on and stuff.
Yeah, and I feel like there probably was a cut where that time was in there, and they took it out probably just to keep the story moving.
Yeah, because the last thing they show us is a clock of 10 minutes. And so I'm like, not enough time can pass between him saying, you have 10 minutes, and him being like, okay, I'm going to kill somebody, for me to be like, this exchange. I think what you're saying is that obviously more time had passed, and in the Frankenstein edit, they just put this together like this.
Yeah.
But it was like, that's too bad.
No, totally. The other thing, of course, at the end, Yusuf invites Matt for a family dinner. Now, of course,
so he can meet his daughter.
They meet his daughter and all that, but also because Matt, as we all know, loves family dinners. We see the She-Hulk episode at the end of the season. He loves them family dinners, so that had to be in there. Also, I know a lot of fans and stuff are going off about the Kamala's in California thing, and it's like, I feel like that's going to amount to nothing. Everybody's like, well, maybe this is like a Young Avengers thing. It's like, no.
I just took it as her friend went to school in California. So
he's got, he went, exactly. She's going to visit him. Yeah.
The funny thing is, even if everyone's like, this is going to lead to a Young Avengers thing, I'm like, they already did that post-credit scene. That's what they told it is happening.
You might see a Young Avengers thing
but
later,
they're
it's
trying,
not connected to what he
said.
said.
They're trying to say, they specifically went to California so she can meet Cassie, Ant-Man's daughter. It's like, I don't think that's the case. No,
and I think, and even if it is, so what?
Yeah, exactly. So what? But it's just amazing what people latch onto and like make a big deal out of. And so so
it's like that whole like scientist in like the WandaVision series.
Oh again. Yeah. Oh, that's gonna be Reed Richards. It's like no, you just dude with a truck. Yeah,
scientist.
Dude with a big truck that can go through a thing. That's about it.
Yeah. Was there anything else you want to say about episode 5?
No, I think that's it for episode 5. Yeah. Again, I understand why people really enjoy it, and I get all the reasons for that. I just feel like it's the one episode. One of these things is not like the others. Just feels like it was from the and it was from the old.
I'm glad to get that confirmation. Yeah, because when people said, I was like, this is. And it's not my favorite episode. It's just like, at least they're doing this was my thing. I was just like, I'm glad. And timing wise, obviously, they put it on the same night as 6, where he has to really be Daredevil. But I was like, I get it. I get why you kind of do a soft launch, and then you're like, no, he's back for real.
Yeah.
But I still was like, I enjoy that they've put him in a situation where he has to do stuff. And I think it needs to be timed out that way as well. Obviously, if this was like the second episode, I'd be like, I guess he's moved on pretty quickly.
Yeah, exactly. Also, I just wanted to mention that episodes 4 and 5, there were moments of showing of Muse. These 2 episodes finally show Muse as he is. For people out there, Muse was his first appearance was in the 2016 series of Daredevil by Charles Soule and Ron Garney. Issue 11 was his first appearance.
Okay. Yeah, I skipped over him in the other episode. 'Cause I'm like, this was nothing.
No, they're just
Yeah.
they're little moments
Just
just
like,
to,
little
yeah,
but
teasers.
like
remind you.
in episode 4, that's the first time his character is on screen as
Right.
opposed to just a mural.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and then issue 5, of course, as episode 5, of course, at the end, we do see him at the very end of that episode as a post credit, almost a post credits thing.
Yeah.
All right, episode 6. This is they both break bad, if you will. Like, Wilson and Matt just go back to their old ways for real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no more.
There's no more
around it.
New
It's
Year,
just like,
New
that's
Me.
happening, man.
Yeah.
I
No
did it.
more New Year, New Me. It's over.
Yeah, totally.
So it opens with Ben's favorite stuff, the BB report.
That's right.
Interviews. I liked it. The first one was the graffiti artist being like, "Yeah, like this. Everyone gives us shit, but look at these vigilantes." And then it shifts over to someone being like, "Swordsman's amazing. This is
Yeah,
great. Like,
Swordsman's a
keep it
cool
up."
dude.
I
Yeah.
like that. I was not expecting to see that, even though obviously because this is a Kingpin show as well, you would think that they would bring in more Hawkeye stuff. So I'm glad that Swordsman came back.
Yeah, but of all the Hawkeye stuff, the guy that
It's
wasn't
Swordsman.
connected to Kingpin, yeah.
Yeah.
It was
It's
his
like, why
yeah.
him?
It was his girlfriend that was connected to Kingpin in the Hawkeye series. So.
Yeah, but this you need him because I don't mean like you need him from the show, but if you're doing it,
Oh no,
you
no,
need someone
totally.
he's not connected to because
Yeah.
of what they're trying to set
Oh
up.
no, no, of
Yeah.
course. And like, let's just face it, people like Tony Dalton. That's
Yeah.
I mean, I was truly disappointed with his end point in Hawkeye, so I was glad to see him back in this in this place of like,
right.
oh, you have purpose. Before,
Yeah.
like not before, but I was so on board with him week to week in Hawkeye, and then I'm like, oh, he's just a doof. I don't know, man. Like he's
Yeah.
and then this, I'm like, okay, he's back to like feeling like he's got a plan here, and I appreciate that because I
Yeah.
really liked the beginning part of him in Hawkeye.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
does do
now-
a good job of being like, yeah, this is why we need an anti-vigilante task force. Look at all these. This is a guy just running around New York with a sword, just
Does
stabbing
it do
people.
a good job of that? Because
I don't
it
know.
didn't show anyone being upset
I
about
feel
it.
like this is the issue. I'm trying to meet the show halfway too much. You know what I
don't
mean?
think-
Like,
I think you're looking at it the wrong way because the point
Yeah.
isn't, oh, he's trying to help the city. The point is he wants control, and this is a way to control. He's
I mean,
like,
fair.
I don't,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want other people to be like
No.
the swordsman where people like him. I want people to like me, and I'm gonna do this and clear shit up.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
people saying stuff like they like the swordsman, they're individualities. That's
Mm-hmm.
it is kind of showing that people miss Daredevil in a way. To show that
Mhm.
when Daredevil comes back, there's going to be people who are like, yeah, all right, cool, he's back on the streets protecting us. And
Yeah.
because we've had guys like Swordsman, we've had guys like the White Tiger, but you
Mhm.
know, it's like Daredevil used to really manage these streets.
Yeah, he was our guy. He was our guy for sure.
So yeah, there's a worker who finds the Muse victim from what you said, like that post-credit scene.
Mm.
Well, I guess the bookend. It was more of a bookend, but yeah, like
Yeah.
that guy. And John Santini, I did have to rewind to hear his name, who was also in the bank episode,
Yeah.
is the one that was tasked with cleaning, and he ultimately, it's a funny exchange of just frustrating everyone in the room, but he's like,
Mhm.
oh well, yeah, because there's blood in the paint, that's why I can't wash it off.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was
What's
good.
then there's the whole, so as we know, I had the big complaint
Mhm.
beginning of this series of Matt stepping away from his religious beliefs. Now in this, it's not a full, much like he's slowly rolling back into Daredevil,
Mhm.
he's slowly reconnecting to his religious beliefs, but in a way that is very more even connected to Foggy's death than it is his religious beliefs. Of course, the prayer that he's praying is to St. Ives, who is the patron saint of lawyers.
Oh, okay.
And so that is why that is on Foggy's prayer card. That
Yeah.
prayer about St. Ives is because Foggy was a lawyer, Matt's a lawyer. And so this is him kind of, it's a showing of recommitting. And later on, when he does fully get into the Daredevil thing, he takes the Daredevil horn that fell off the night that Foggy died and sticks it on the prayer card, which I feel is like almost like, this is why I'm doing it, but it's almost like an apology
Mhm.
because Foggy's death, he stopped because Foggy, as we know, the thing you had a problem with Foggy in the original series, he didn't want him to be Daredevil.
And he says it in the beginning of this.
Yeah, he says it in the beginning
of this. I don't want to
this-
give you a reason. I'm like, oh my god, this guy.
But like that's the thing. If you were the best friend of a dude who said, "Oh, hey, every night I'm going out and I'm fighting ninjas," and it's like, I don't think that's really healthy, bud. That's you wouldn't be like, "This is awesome" in real life.
I don't think I'd say this is awesome, but as I said when we covered it, I would make a decision. Am I staying in this person's life or not?
Right. No, I get that. But like that's the
what
thing,
Karen
though.
did that I respected.
Yes,
And
exactly.
I know
But
a different relationship.
there are some people that they don't do that. This is like to Foggy, that was almost like his brother. And sometimes with family, it's very hard to make that final cut.
As I said, he's not a character that's never existed.
Yeah.
But for me, he's the character that doesn't want the show to happen. So
right, no, I get it.
Like,
but yeah,
but
I feel like that horn being placed on it was his apology to Foggy, saying like, "I'm sorry, I have to go back to this."
And then we get into. It seems like I'm nitpicking here, but I'm trying to highlight them as things that kind of took me out for a moment. So he has this thing. I liked how it started with Heather kind of teasing him, like, "Oh my goodness, you still pray." And obviously, it feels like it's a setup to like, well, I used to do it all the time, but I'm getting back into it, and you feel like okay, and that's him coming back to his faith, but also the Daredevil part of himself.
Yeah.
And then they transition to like, oh yeah, I'm writing a book about vigilantes, but like why we like the mask and what does the mask allow you to do?
Which is something she did say in her book talk a couple episodes before.
But then she's like, hey, like, Frank Castle, can we talk to him? And I'm like, not just that he doesn't wear a mask, but her whole setup of like, does it give you the opportunity to do this, this, and this? I'm like, he's pretty, like you said, he's a force of nature. He's very clear.
Yeah.
What we know about him is very clear of like, this is who I am. I'm not hiding behind anything. I think I'm right. I will go on like the stand and say this in court. I think I'm right, and I'm doing what I want. I'm like, I get it. We don't have the opportunity for her to say Spider-Man because that got erased in No Way Home.
Yeah.
But like, you gotta just skip over Frank and be like, can you get me Daredevil? You used to work with him. Like, it's just one of those things where I'm like, Punisher.
Yeah, that was weird. It felt off brand.
Not
it was
the
weird.
right topic for your book.
Yeah.
Oh man, but like, hey, she was just going through. Yeah, she's like, Punisher. He's a vigilante. Sure, he doesn't have a mask, but he fits the vigilante category. Let's go with that. So
yeah. Anyway, it's a minor thing, but I just was like, what? That's the worst person to ask.
No, I had that same feeling. I agree with you. That was dumb.
And at the same time, it's intercut with Luca coming to the Kingpin, basically saying, "I ain't gonna pay."
Yeah, shove up your ass.
Yeah,
and then he's like, "No, it's 2.8 now, and obviously the extra $1 million is for me."
Yeah,
and you're like, "All right."
Yeah, and of course we get better looks. Down. We get another look at the murals. Now, I didn't mention the murals in this were actually all designed by David Mack, comic artist, but also he wrote a couple of arcs of Daredevil back in the day, and is the creator of Echo.
Nice.
So David Mack did all the murals that we see from Muse, and the murals, mentioned made of human blood and everything like that. But like the stories that they tell, like, of course, we've seen the Kingpin one where it's like King, Pin, showing the duality of like, he's a criminal, he's a mayor, that sort of thing. The Punisher thing triggered commenting on police officers who are now idolizing the Punisher. Then you see the White Tiger one in this, which is, basically a tribute to Vigilante kind of thing. Because in Muse's own eyes, what he's doing is almost like a good thing, even though what he's doing is terrible. In his eyes, his artwork is calling out the things that are happening in New York, and so he sees himself like the White Tiger standing up for justice. And that's even like later on with the two girls that go up to him thinking, "Oh my God, we met Banksy on the street," sort of thing, dumbest thing ever they could do. But that's actually from the comics, and in the comics, Muse lets them live. He doesn't kill them. He just comes.
Okay.
Muse is a slightly different character in the comics because Muse talks in the comics.
Right.
he's more the silent killer.
Yeah, I again,
And in
I
that, sorry,
know
and
there's
in
people
that
would do
mural
that.
with the two dead girls, he paints himself as the Statue of Liberty, like
Mm-hmm.
he is bringing forth freedom to the people by speaking his mind through his art.
Yeah, I'm interested to see more from him. I guess now I know he's never gonna talk in that mask.
Yeah, on the show, yeah, it doesn't seem like
yeah.
he'll talk. Yeah.
Yeah. We already talked about the Angela stuff. She makes good points, and I thought it was weirdly edited, but I also feel like it's an important scene. Obviously, like I especially like her line about her uncle telling her, "Don't rely on anyone to do for you what you could do for yourself."
And of course, it's a much needed scene for exposition to say, last time he checked, it was down by this place. Here, I'm going to go there. So that Daredevil later knows where to go.
I kind of skip over that, but yes, they need to do that. I was like, oh boy. But like, they need to do it. Otherwise, how is he going to know? But it was...
Yeah, exactly. That line has to be in there just so when people go, how the hell did he know to go down there? It's like, well, she said that. Yeah.
But I do like that it's obviously, even if he wasn't trying to not be Daredevil right now, that is part of the interesting thing about Matt Murdock, is that he does try to rely on the system he has faith in for bits of it. And this is telling him, like, stop. You got to stop, and you got to actually do something right now. You can't rely on the system or whatever, like you did when, I guess, Bullseye got life or whatever. You got to actually go in there and do something. And I like that stays in the air for him to think about and us to think about.
And then you got Fisk, who wants to raise money for his Red Hook project. So he's meeting with all the rich and wealthy, showing that he's very out of his element, that he could be the mayor, but he'll never be seen as elite like these rich people, which is actually something that was done a lot in the comics, a little bit in the Charles Soule run, but very much in the Chip Zdarsky run. There was a pair of characters. I can't remember if they were introduced in the Charles Soule run or the Chip Zdarsky run, but they were like a brother and sister who they weren't modeled after the Koch brothers, but basically they were like people like where it's like, we go in and we influence the people in power, the politicians. We're the ones who are actually telling them what to say, sort of thing. And so, and so I felt like the conversations here, like with the one woman who basically is saying, we decide who gets to eat here. That is like, that was playing off of that. Totally.
I like that he goes in, like he's talking to Vanessa and he's like, no, it's easy to control people. And she's like, you're thinking like the criminal, like you can't do that. Like you are actually at these people's mercy right now.
Yeah. These are people who you don't have anything these people want.
There's nothing like, and also they won't fear like any legal repercussions either. Like, no, I'll pay for whatever I need to pay for to like get what I want here. So she's like, you're actually the one that's going to be controlled. And I like that you see it play out throughout all the different things. It's why I like.
And hell, even Swordsman warns him too. It's like he kind of just throws it out there. Yeah.
I was saying, like, that's what I liked about it being Swordsman, was that, like, in addition to me feeling a bit of redemption from what I thought was a bad ending for him in Hawkeye, it was like, yeah, don't forget, man, like, these other people are talking around it. I'll tell you to your face, like, you can't fuck with us.
Yeah.
And the whole, like, is that a threat? And he's like, nah, it's a warning, but, like, you just watch out, because we don't care about who you think you are.
Yeah.
Whereas, obviously, if it was the wife, you would feel like she would feel some kind of fealty to Kingpin. It wouldn't come off as, because she already worked under him, so that power structure wouldn't be there.
Yeah. No, totally. And then, of course, that kind of leads into him finding out about how the murals are made up of 60 different people's blood. And in the comics, it's actually over 100. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. Now, this leads, of course, to Fisk creating his own cop squad, his own task force.
Before that, what I liked was him talking to that cop that said, be careful what you wish for. And he's like, you see the breakdown he has where he just ends up laughing, but he's like, I like what he said after that, which was like, no, don't tell anyone. He's just going to hide for a bit and he's going to come out harder. And the cop is like, well, that's a terrible way to run this. And he's like, I mean, if sanitation is finding out about a serial killer before NYPD, maybe we don't go by how things usually go.
Yeah.
which that is what I think was the impetus for the task force, not
Right.
that other stuff. This was like
No,
him
yeah,
being like,
totally, yeah.
look, you guys aren't doing your job because you're not seeing this stuff, so I'm gonna put some people out there who, on like, I'm saying on paper in quotes, get things done the way they need to.
Yeah, but then Fisk basically has his own goon squad, which is what he eventually.
No, that's
wants.
what I'm saying. That was the goon squad.
Yeah,
Him
yeah,
being
no,
like,
no,
I'm
totally.
picking
I agree.
these guys.
Exactly. And he has his own goon squad, and he goes and he meets them. Now, here's the thing: Marvel has a history of taking character names from the comics and just sticking them on whatever characters they feel like. And I feel like that's what they did here with Cole North. Cole North is introduced, Sergeant Cole North, who's basically set up to be the leader of Fisk's goon squad. They got the name right. They got that he was from Chicago. They kind of threw out everything else about him because they made it that this character is somebody who excessive force on what he thinks is justice. And, you know, there's very much like a kind of like almost creepy feel to his character. In the comics, he's a guy who's hard on vigilantes. Yes, he comes to... he's from Chip Zdarsky's run. He comes to New York to crack down on vigilantes, and he ends up focusing on Daredevil. But he, in the end, like you find out he's a good guy. He just doesn't agree with vigilantes.
But
And so
does he become like an ally to Daredevil as well?
Yeah, he becomes but like that's the thing. At no point is he ever in kind of like, you know, sidling up to the Kingpin, so to speak. And in this, it's like his first introduction is, yeah, like I'll go with Kingpin's thing. This seems cool. Like it's,
I do
and
think
I
there's
will
still
say,
room for him to get to like have, obviously not in the first season, but I do think there's room for him to be like, oh, now I see what's going on.
Okay, well, we'll revisit this in the next episode.
Okay, so that tells me something else.
I'm just gonna leave it at that. We'll revisit this in the next episode. Okay.
Winky, winky. All right. Well, there we go. Never mind. They threw everything else out. That's fair enough.
Ooh, man.
I will read into that as I will. Yeah. So I guess they just took the name. That's fine. Sherry tells Matt about the Muse shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? I don't get you, man. Like, do you want like? He's a character unlike Kirsten, who knows that he was Daredevil.
Yeah.
And I genuinely go back and forth like, so does he want him to be back or not? Like, obviously in this conversation he doesn't want him to come back. But it doesn't feel like that has been the case up to this point. And I also, like, when he did the thing he did with White Tiger, I saw other people think like, oh, Cherry thinks that's a good idea. And I'm like, I genuinely don't know enough about this character to know if he thought... I read it as he was pissed. But I was just like, he's also just on board with all of this shit anyway, so I don't really know like what they're doing with him.
Yeah, nobody really knows Cherry's character yet. We haven't been given enough on him. He's been very much used as more of a plot device than a character. Like pretty much the biggest moment was the transport. Yeah.
Which isn't really a character moment for him.
Exactly.
He gets to be in it.
Yeah, exactly. But like he's now been ever since then has been relegated to the pop in, hey, and then okay, see ya. Like he's in it for a few minutes and gone.
What else is there here? Yeah, Angela gets caught by Muse, obviously. So that happens,
we saw that coming.
Everyone saw that coming.
And Fisk goes back into the basement again. Now this time it's a juxtaposition because once again we're seeing Daredevil go into the bowels of the old subway tunnel. At the same time, we're seeing Fisk go into his basement again, and this time he's like, it's very much playing with his food. He's like, I'm gonna let Adam out. I'm gonna give him an axe, and I'm gonna beat the shit out of him. Now this is classic Kingpin in the comics, because when he first appeared in Spider-Man comics, he was seen as like, oh, he's just a goofy mobster, whatever. When Frank Miller brought him into Daredevil, he gave him this scene where he's in like this penthouse type thing in like a dojo in his penthouse. and there's like 12 guys around him. They've all got like clubs, nunchucks, like a swinging mace and everything like that. And he's just there in like a tight little, like, it's only because he's a big guy does it look like a sumo thing, but it's like, it's
not supposed
it's like,
to be.
yeah, it's him in like little shorts type thing. And he's like, come at me. And then it's him just beating the crap out of all these guys. So I felt like this was very much like that, where it's like, I give a guy an axe and I'm just going to bat him around. And so he does that to show that he's powerful, to show that he's in control. And that's intercut with Daredevil giving into his violent nature, but at the same time, not giving in all the way.
Yeah.
When he has the decision, do I be the hero and save Angela, or do I be the vengeful vigilante and kill Muse? He goes to save Angela.
Yeah. And again, he's hearing heartbeats, so it's like the Foggy thing to keep that top of mind for people if they didn't already think.
Yeah, and
him
it's
being like, yeah, I gotta go back.
Yeah, and each man is giving into their primal natures.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I liked him being like, yeah, Vanessa wants me to let you out. That's just not going to sit right with me. So, you know what? If I end up killing you because you try to kill me, so be it. Here's an axe. I mean, I know he tells the story of, I realized I couldn't beat people up who were bigger than me, so a weapon was an equal playground. But like, I also just like that he's like, hey, look, if I'm just going to swing my arms like this, and if you walk into it, that's your own fault.
It's a great moment. It's a great moment.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And then he yells out mine. And I was like, interesting use of that. I know that Vincent D'Onofrio was saying that he, throughout this run, was purposefully not reading the lines as they were written. Mm-hmm. But like, he's like, I'll get you where you need to go, but I'm not going to say this. Like, I'll put things here, put things there. And I was like, now, was that his choice to just say the word mine and let us like sit with that? Or did they really write and then he says mine?
Well, I think either way it works with the character.
Mm-hmm.
He's a child that sees everything as like he owns it sort of thing, including Vanessa.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
He has a very much a territorial position with Vanessa, and that's carried on from the Netflix series.
Yes.
So it's like I felt mine was actually like the perfect choice for him to say at this point because of the fact that the way Vincent D'Onofrio plays him and the way he is written in the show, he is a monster and a child.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree. I like that it came out here, but I was liking before this that he was less of a child.
Right. Well, that's the thing.
Obviously, that's because he wasn't trying to be the Kingpin.
Yeah.
But I was still enjoying him. I think, again, this isn't objectively bad. My hesitance with the Netflix version was what seemed to me like obvious, like there's some developmental issue here as well, like, or if you just want to say he's childlike. Either way, it was like, I mean, okay, but like, so I'm gonna watch people beat up on someone who's got issues in this obvious of a way. I didn't love that aspect, so I liked this version, and I think this is good to have in this moment as a touch of it, of the mind. So I'm interested to see where they go from here, because I was enjoying him not being exactly like the Netflix version. It felt a bit more in control and less. Like, you see him struggle when he doesn't have the control, but that felt more of like an adult dealing with not having control. Who's used to it, and less of what I saw in the Netflix stuff.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, I really like this. I don't have any like I liked this, even the mind stuff. It was a nice reminder that he has gone all over, and obviously Angela being like, hey, are you there? And he's like, yeah, I'm here. Like, obviously planting the flag of, yeah, Daredevil's back now.
Yeah. No, it's great. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's great stuff. Do you want me to get into some reading suggestions?
I would love for you to. Yes, thank you.
So for this one, whereas the last one I did kind of very much on the nose of like, this matches this. This one is more of like a kind of feeling thing here. Like for 2016's Daredevil, series, issues 10 to 14, Dark Art. It is the first storyline involving Muse. And at the time, Daredevil had a protege called Blind Spot, and Muse ends up making that name very fitting in the story. So definitely go check that out. Then we've got we go all the way back to the late 70s, early 80s in Daredevil Volume 1. There's a storyline called Gang War. It's issues 169 to 172. It not only kind of cements Kingpin in the Daredevil universe, it also connects him to Bullseye and kind of connects like all the Daredevil pieces together. Things that we know as the Daredevil antagonists.
Okay.
It kind of connects those pieces together. Plus, it is the first, like issue 170 is in there, which is the first time that Frank Miller has Kingpin just fighting a room full of guys for training. And yes, there's that. And then finally, a non-Daredevil issue I wanted to throw out there. Punisher, from the Punisher 2018 series, issue 13 from the storyline War on the Streets Part 2. This kind of connects with Frank's comments about the wannabes, about the fanboys. In that story, Punisher's in New York hunting Baron Zemo and Hydra. Along the way, he takes out a dude who's been knifing and killing women in New York. And the night that he does that, he's walking down a street and cops pull him over because they see a big guy in a trench coat and they think this might be the killer. And when they see that he's got blood on his hands, they're like, hey, freeze. And then he turns, pulls up his hands, freeze, and his Punisher logo is noticeable. And they suddenly go, oh shit, we're talking to the Punisher. Oh my God. You know, they become big fanboys. And they show off like, hey, we got a Punisher decal on our squad car. We really look up to you. Basically, Matthew Rosenberg was doing a commentary on the actual cops and people in the armed service who do.
They just misuse the logo.
Yeah, and they kind of missee who the character is. And Punisher basically learns them saying, I don't want you as fanboys. You know, if you want an idol, you should be idolizing something like Captain America because you guys are supposed to do a job to service the people. I don't do that job. I kill people.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that issue was a nice pairing to after watching episode 4.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Yeah, why don't you let people know where else they can find you? I know you did it last episode, but this could be someone's first episode.
Yeah, of course, definitely. Yeah, so of course you can find everything I do over at geekhardshow.com. We have the main flagship show, Geek Hard, which is available as a podcast, but also is live Friday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern on realityradio101.com, where we talk to actors, directors, comic creators, and a bunch of other people in the entertainment industry, and we review films and TV shows. And then I also have my comic book podcast, Back Issue Bloodbath, where when you hear this, we'll be in the final episodes of our House of the Devil sub-series, where we look at classic, or in some cases not as read as much, stories from the Daredevil pantheon.
It is a great listen, no matter what you guys are talking about, but it is definitely a great listen right now as everyone's getting into Daredevil and having their own opinions of what it should be. I think you guys do a great job of piecing together the character with your discussions.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you very much for coming back. We'll see you next time at the end of the thing. We can talk about Cole North and
we talk about that. It won't be like a long conversation, but
no, I know. Or maybe I'll have very strong opinions. Maybe. And I'll draw it out. You can find us at tdfeverything.com/spoiledrotten. You'll find our coordinates on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Threads. It's at TDF Spoiled on all of those. Our email is spoiledpodcast@gmail.com. We're on all the different podcast platforms. And if you don't find us, just write us. Get in touch with us somehow. We'll figure that out. But yeah, we are looking forward to capping off the next 3 episodes with Andrew, and we will be back. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
This has been a TDF Everything production, brah.